Alright, so YouTube, back with another problem. This is on the little boat, R19 Panga. And this will hopefully tell you how to troubleshoot the engine not starting. So real quick, the problem I had was when I would turn the key, the starter motor would just click and wouldn't actually roll the motor over. So the first thing you want to check is your battery. I did that even replacing it with a new one because I wasn't getting enough voltage. You can certainly check for voltage drop. I thought possibly it might be our key. So one of the first tests that I did was I actually took a power pack that I had and I just went directly to the starter itself, right? Going from the positive to negative, and basically tried to crank it from here. And that would, if it cranked over, eliminate pretty much any problems I had as far as the wiring, right? Because if it cranks here, then it's a wiring issue or a key issue. If it doesn't crank directly on the starter, then it's another problem. Now once I did that, it still wouldn't turn over. And then I realized the next dreaded issue, the engine itself is seized. So if the engine itself is seized, there's a couple different ways to test that. And we'll go through that now. Demonstration, this is an E-Tech 90 3-cylinder engine. It's gonna be pretty much the same process with any, I'm just letting you know that. Now first thing you wanna do is if it's clicking over and not actually turning, is check your flywheel right here of your starter and see if it's engaged, if it's stuck up, if it's not sliding back down, what kind of problems you have there. So once I tested by shorting directly at the starter motor, I realized that this was coming up fine, it just wasn't able to turn the teeth, right? So I had one of two problems. Either this starter is shot and it just doesn't have the power anymore to turn the engine over, or the engine itself is seized. So it's an easy way to test that. First of all, just slide down your starter back down so it's not engaged into the teeth of the flywheel. And right up here at top, you all have a nut. Get a wrench on that and try to turn it manually. But before you do that, you want to take out your spark plugs, right? It just makes it easier to turn by hand, because turning by hand is not necessarily the easiest thing when there's actually compression in the cylinders. So remove your spark plugs, get yourself a socket or a wrench on here, and try and turn it. Now, what I want to caution everyone about is, don't go nuts on this. Do not get a massive cheater bar and a socket on the top here and just sit there with two of your buddies and try and turn it, because you will turn it eventually. But in doing so, you will most likely snap a ring or score a piston, or you'll do more damage. You'll get it turning, but it'll be a useless motor at that point. So if you break your rings and stuff, you're gonna have to rebuild it. So the object here is to try and loosen it without necessarily breaking anything inside of it, right? With just sheer brute force. So here's what you should do. If it doesn't turn easily, first thing you're gonna do is take your spark plugs out, like I said, and you're gonna get yourself some of this stuff, Marvel Mystery Oil, and you're gonna tilt your engine all the way up. It can go up further than that. And you're gonna fill each cylinder with Marvel Mystery Oil. Then what you're gonna do is wait. Go home, put your cover on, hang out, do something else. You can try it again in say an hour, and if it's not badly stuck, it'll start to turn. But if you've got nothing, then what I would suggest is just let it sit overnight, come back out the next day, try and move it again. If it doesn't move at all, you're gonna have to pour more oil in there and wait even longer. You can also try some PB Blaster in there and see if it can break free whatever's holding it. All right, so you've waited 24 hours. Now's the time to see whether you can get it to spin. Now what you want to do, get your wrench on here, and you really don't want to go nuts. Like I said, I'm using a short wrench on purpose because I don't want to overdo it. All right, and you just kind of want to start moving back and forth. Don't go nuts. All right, so this one's turning, but definitely there is some roughness to it. I can actually feel a rough spot. You see? Getting it to turn. now we've gotten it somewhat loose. I'll be honest, I don't love how it feels. Might have a bigger problem than that. But now it's moving pretty good. So if I had to guess, I think it'll turn over now with the actual key. I'll do this right away. This is after I've let it sit over another night with marble oil. Let's see if the key will actually do it, the starter. Yep. And that's how you unseize an outboard engine. All right, now that I unseize my E-Tech 90, I still want to make sure that I don't have something like a cracked piston ring from that unseizing process. So I think when you're in this deep, it's pretty important to go ahead and do a compression test on the engine as well and just see if you've got an obvious problem. So, compression tester, you know, it's 80 bucks, but it's worth it. And so what we're gonna do is you'll go to one of the spark plug. My tripod doesn't go this high. So you'll go to one of the spark plug holes, and your kit comes with a few different sizes, but what you'll do is spin this in, right? Again, this is after you're certain you've done your job with everything else. So we're gonna spin this in, get it good and tight. All right, get a wrench on that. And now what's gonna happen is, as the engine cranks over, it's gonna leave the max pressure that it sees right on this gauge. And we can compression test each one of these cylinders to make sure we don't have it messed up. So what we're gonna do is roll the engine over. Come over here. And she's got quite a bit of pressure, about 110. That's about what should be there. So what you do to release that pressure, you just press the slow button, all right? Now we're back to nothing. So we know cylinder 1 is good, and you're gonna repeat this for all 3 cylinders or however many. The compression test was all good at 110, 110, and about 140 on one cylinder. So this engine's pretty much unseized. I'm pretty confident that I haven't broken a ring or anything terrible like that. Of course, full disclosure, I'm not sure that I know why the engine's seized. I did sit for a long time. I'm thinking maybe moisture in the air. But I might have a larger issue. You know, I'll discover that soon enough. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the engine up, tilted full tilt. I'm gonna throw another batch of Marvel Mystery Oil into each one of the cylinders overnight, let it sit and really get in there, really get rid of some of that grime and rust or whatever's causing the issue. And then I'm gonna try and fire it up tomorrow.